Then Trungpa Rinpoche died. That was really hard. I don't think I've never had a relationship with any human being like I've had with him, somebody who saw me for who I was and was delighted with that. I really kind of went off there for a couple months, really went out, took it to the point of pretty much close to ending it. I got to make this decision about whether I wanted to live or whether I wanted to die.
He went to Boston, saw Nina, it was just a lot of, I think a series of bad events kind of happened emotionally, and it just set him, it just fucked him up.
There was only a short period of two short periods of really losing it behind that. The rest of the time, I made a lot of music. I was a success. What was the problem? I mean, everybody I knew was a success was high. So, I mean, you don't think there's a problem.
If you got a guy whose idea of devotion to a thing is on one hand Rinpoche and on the other hand Charlie Parker, I mean, that's insane.
That morning I decided to quit. I realized that if I was going to avoid the pain of my life, I would have to stay that out of it. And staying that out of it was going to kill me. I got up, got out of the house, and I knew where the hospital was. My son, Jay Anthony, was coming up the hill because he had figured out that I was in trouble and had been lying, and he was coming up to get me, And he sees me wander out of his house and go across the street, stagger across the street and then vanish. But I knew where the clinic was. And I went in there and I said, just take me off the street, will you? When I started, abusing alcohol, I was 13 years old. And it was always the same way, to escape something or other,
You could simply summarize human existence as people just wanting to be accepted and wanting to be loved. And when you know that that's the case, you can relax rather than continue to struggle to be something.
Getting sober, making that decision, that was 14 years ago. And being able to help other people by being sober. It was almost like my life came together again.
A lot of times people that come up in a certain age as time goes on, they don't hold on to that spirit of checking out what's new, or not what's new, but continuing to discover things. And Jerry, he's just got that spirit.
By the time I got to Halifax, I was ready to be here. I was healthy and ready to work, really ready to work.
When Trumpet died, then the Buddhist community in Boulder said he really wanted us to move. He was this brilliant teacher. Even though I really don't feel like going, he knew better than us. Maybe we should go. And then there was a huge influx of Buddhists into Nova Scotia.
About 3 years ago, what happened was Jerry was trying to make a home in Halifax, and he wanted to spend more time here. So he was looking for people to develop projects with it. And so we started playing together.
Until you've been a blacksmith for a long while, you don't have that stuff that you can bring up that can come right from the depths of your being. And you have to strike while the iron's hot. You're in the moment. Blacksmithing, just the way you're in the moment with jazz. If you stop and think about what you're going to do when you're playing jazz, the moment's passed.
You can describe numbness as a state of mind. But Jerry experiences it as a sound.
Our relationship was kind of a little tricky at the time. And we went somewhere, like a cafe, and suddenly we were discussing our relationship, and I was sort of slightly disbelieving what he was saying, and just like, yeah, you know, I've heard this before, Jerry. And then he suddenly said, I'm serious, and he produced a ring, right? So he said, will you marry me? And I said, yes.
It takes people off guard when, you know, they realize that there are all these people that are sort of very strangely related, as we all are. And Maggie's children are just as much brothers and sisters to me as Jay and Vosh.
It's not the kind of thing where I got to play better because Jerry Granelli's in the room and he's going to judge me. It's Jerry makes me want to play better, and I do.
A musician who feels sound and its movement almost like you could touch it and throw it around the band like paint, or carve it up like a sculptor, you know, carve up the silence like a sculptor.
He's so willing to make himself so uncomfortable. And to me, that is, you know, that's a great lesson.